So today in our Explore God series, we dove into this question. We didn't answer all of it, but we dove into this question of why does God allow pain and suffering? And immediately after the 10:30 service, an older gentleman came up to me and he said, I go to church at a different church, but I'm here today because I wanted to hear this message. I wanted to hear about pain and suffering. And he said, he was very complimentary. He said, you really did a good job. I appreciate all the things that you said. But he said, I was hoping that you would give me something to share with my family, and you didn't really speak to what my family is struggling with. And so I asked him to tell me his story. And he shared just a horrific story about a brother's grandchild and just this incredible accident a few months ago where the son was in the yard and he was mowing on a riding lawnmower, and he backed over his child with his lawnmower, and the child died. And the man said to me, he said, your sermon was great and it answered a lot of questions, but what does it say to me, and what does it say to my family, and what do I say to my family who is really, really struggling through this tragedy? What would the Bible say to us and to me and my family? And the first thing I did is I just said, as we said in our message, we can't answer all these questions. We can't know why, and I don't think everything has a why, but many things do. But I pointed him to John chapter 6. And in John chapter 6, Jesus has a massive crowd, just a huge crowd of followers, thousands upon thousands. And I think it says something like 5,000 or 6,000 men, and then there's women and children, just this mega crowd that Jesus has following him. And he preached a sermon, and he said something that was really offensive to the crowds. And the result was that those mega crowds disappeared. The thousands upon thousands of people who were following Jesus said, you know what? We followed you this far, but we can't follow you any farther. And they all left him. And if you read in John chapter 6, in verse 66, you can hear the hurt, you can hear the pain in the voice of Jesus when he looks around and everybody's gone. Everybody's abandoned him. And he looks to his 12 disciples and he says, what? Will you leave me too? Will you abandon me too? And one of the disciples said to Jesus, to whom shall we go? Only you have the words of eternal life. And what I shared with this gentleman, this older gentleman who was just in tears, was, I don't know why. And I can't answer why. But like the disciples, when we have those moments, I think the question we should ask is, to whom shall we go? If not God? If not Jesus? To whom shall we turn? To what other way of life shall we turn when we face the biggest tragedies? Where else would we go? Only Jesus offers eternal life. Only Jesus gives us the opportunity to be with and to see our loved ones again. Only Jesus. And so while we may not have the answers to why everything happens, I do ultimately believe that Jesus is the answer. And we can just turn away when we face tragedy, but our lives won't be any better. Or we can turn toward God, and we can put our hope in the one who has the words of eternal life. And so I looked at the man and I just said, I'm sorry for your loss. And he said, thank you. And he said, still doesn't answer my questions. But he said, I'm going to write down what you just said, and I'm going to share it with my family. And so I just want to say to those of you who are listening or watching this as a follow-up, or maybe we didn't answer all of your questions, there may not be a why or a reason for everything you've ever experienced. But where else will you turn except to Jesus?